It was a breezy Thursday morning at Fairgrove Middle School in Brighton, England. The sky was a soft blue, and birds flew above the tall brick school building. School buses lined up along the front entrance, squeaking as doors opened. Kids jumped out, laughing, shouting, hugging friends, and hurrying inside with heavy backpacks. In the middle of this noise and excitement, one girl sat quietly near the gate. Her name was Lucy Hart. She was 13 years old. She wore round glasses and had a neat brown ponytail. She was small and gentle-looking. But the most noticeable thing about Lucy was her wheelchair. Lucy had been in a car accident 2 years ago. Since then, her legs could no longer move. But her heart and her mind were stronger than ever. She loved books, drawing stars, and solving math problems. Still, most students didn't talk to her. They whispered when she passed. Some stared. Others just looked away. Today, Lucy rolled herself slowly toward the ramp near the main doors. The path was narrow, with a small bump at the start. She was used to it. She had done it many times. But someone stood in her way. It was Jake Morgan. Jake was older, 16 and tall, with blonde messy hair and a smug grin. He wore a red varsity jacket and expensive sneakers. Everyone at school knew him. He was good at football and came from a rich family. But Jake had a bad habit. He liked to pick on kids who were different. With him were his two best friends, Max, short and loud, and Connor, who laughed at everything Jake said. Jake saw Lucy coming. "Well, look who's rolling in," he said loudly. Some students nearby looked over. Few giggled. Lucy didn't say anything. She just kept rolling forward. Jake stepped right in front of the ramp. "Where do you think you're going?" he asked, arms crossed. "I'm going to class," Lucy said softly. Jake smirked. "Wrong way. This ramp is closed. Only for cool kids today." Max laughed. "Better find a flight of stairs, Lucy." "She can't climb stairs, genius," Connor said, laughing louder. Lucy sighed. "Please move." But Jake didn't. Instead, he placed his hand on the back of her wheelchair. "Let's give her a shortcut," he said. Before Lucy could stop him, Jake pushed the chair backward and tipped it over. Lucy fell hard. Her books flew everywhere. Her elbow scraped against the rough pavement. Her glasses slid across the ground. For a second everything was quiet. Then came the laughter. Max howled, clapping. Connor doubled over. Some students stood frozen. Others whispered. No one stepped forward. No one helped. Lucy lay there trying not to cry. Her arm hurt, and her heart ached even more. That was when a voice cut through the crowd. "Hey!" A girl pushed her way forward. She wore a teal school sweater and jeans. Her eyes were dark, and her short black curls bounced as she moved. Her name was Emma Collins. She had just gotten off the bus and had seen everything. Emma dropped her bag and ran to Lucy. She knelt beside her gently. "Are you okay?" she asked, placing a hand on Lucy's shoulder. Lucy nodded slowly, though tears welled in her eyes. Emma turned sharply to Jake. "What's funny about this?" she demanded. Jake blinked. "Mind your business." Emma stood up, face to face with him. She wasn't as tall, but she didn't look scared. "This is my business," she said. "You knocked her down like she's trash." Jake shrugged. "It was a joke. She's fine." "You call this fine?" Emma snapped, pointing to Lucy's scraped elbow. Jake rolled his eyes. "Whatever." Emma helped Lucy sit up. Another girl handed over her glasses. Emma fixed them on Lucy's face carefully. "Thanks," Lucy whispered. "You're welcome," Emma said. "Let's get you up." Together, they lifted Lucy back into her chair. Emma gathered her books and placed them in Lucy's lap. Just then a teacher finally arrived. Mr. Green, the gym coach. "What's going on here?" he asked, noticing the crowd. Jake quickly stepped back. Max and Connor pretended to look away. "Nothing," Jake said. "She fell." "She was pushed," Emma said loudly. Mr. Green looked confused. "Did anyone see what happened?" Silence. No one spoke up. Jake, Max, and Connor slowly backed away and slipped into the school building. Mr. Green frowned. I'll take her to the nurse. I got it, Emma said. She's with me. Lucy looked up. Are you sure? Emma smiled. I'm sure. As they wheeled down the hall, Lucy finally asked, Why did you help me? Emma shrugged. Because no one else did. They both smiled. And just like that, something changed. Emma wheeled Lucy down the hallway. The crowd behind them had slowly disappeared. The halls were quieter now. Lucy looked down at her scraped elbow, then at the carpet beneath her wheels. I hate when people stare, Lucy said quietly. Emma glanced at her. They stared because they didn't know what to do. But that's not an excuse. Lucy gave a tiny nod. Her voice dropped to a whisper. This isn't the first time. Emma stopped walking. What? Lucy looked up, her eyes tired. Jake, Max, Connor. They laugh at me. Make wheelchair sounds when I pass. Block the ramp sometimes. Last month, someone put glue on my seat. Emma clenched her fists. Did you tell anyone? Lucy shook her head. What's the point? Teachers act like they don't see it. Kids laugh or walk away. Nobody listens. Emma took a deep breath. Her eyes filled with fire. Well, I'm listening. And I'm not okay with it. They reached the nurse's office. Nurse Lillian smiled warmly and cleaned Lucy's elbow. Emma sat nearby, arms crossed, deep in thought. When the nurse stepped out to grab a bandage, Emma leaned closer. We can't let this keep happening, she whispered. Lucy looked unsure. What can we do? Emma stood up straight. We speak up. We speak loud. If they won't see you, then I'll make sure they do. After the nurse finished, Lucy returned to class. Emma stopped by the principal's office. Do you have an appointment? The secretary asked. No, Emma said. But I need to talk to someone. Now. The secretary sighed. Miss Sanders, the guidance counselor, is free. Go ahead. Emma walked into the room. Miss Sanders, a kind-looking woman with silver glasses and short curly hair, looked up. Emma Collins. Everything okay? Emma sat down. No. A student was bullied. Pushed out of her wheelchair. Her name is Lucy Hart. Miss Sanders frowned. That's serious. Did you see it? Yes. Helped her. But that's not the only thing. She says it happens often. Did she report it? She was too tired to, Emma said, voice shaking. Because no one does anything when she does. Even when they see it. They just look away. Miss Sanders leaned forward. You care a lot about this. I do, Emma said. And I want to help fix it. Miss Sanders nodded slowly. I'm glad you came. We'll keep a close eye on Jake and his friends. And I'll talk to Principal Harris about this. Emma stood. Thank you. But I don't want just punishment. I want change. Later that day, Emma found Lucy in the library. She sat near the window, reading a book about the stars. Hey, Emma said, pulling out a chair. Lucy smiled. Hey. Emma pulled out her notebook. I talked to Ms. Sanders. She listened. Lucy blinked. Really? She's taking it seriously. But we have to do more. Lucy looked down. I'm not good at speaking in front of people. Emma grinned. You don't have to be loud. You just have to be honest. They talked for a while about what could be done. Posters. Meetings. Speaking at the next assembly. Lucy's hands trembled. I don't want to stand in front of the whole school. Emma nodded. I'll be with you. A few minutes later, a loudspeaker came on. Attention students. Tomorrow is our annual Unity Games. All students will be randomly placed in teams. Events begin after lunch. Wear your team colors. Lucy sighed. Unity Games. Great. That means group work. Emma smiled a little. I have an idea. Lucy raised an eyebrow. Oh. Emma leaned in. What if we use the Unity Games to make a point? How? Emma tapped her notebook. We get Jake on our team. And we make him push you in the wheelchair relay. Lucy's mouth dropped open. You're joking. Nope. He'll hate that. Exactly. But won't that make things worse? Emma shook her head. No. It'll make him see what it's like to depend on someone. Maybe for once, he'll stop seeing you as weak. Lucy was quiet. Then she whispered, "You're really brave." Emma chuckled. No. I'm just tired of seeing kind people treated like dirt. Later that night, Lucy sat by her bedroom window, holding a tiny notebook in her hand. She wrote, "Today someone saw me. Not the chair. Me." She closed the notebook, a soft smile on her face. Meanwhile, Emma sat in her room, reading about past school protests. She wasn't sure where all this was going yet. But she knew one thing. Tomorrow they were going to change something, even if it was small. The next day at Fairgrove Middle School, the energy felt different. Banners in bright colors hung from the hallways. Students wore wristbands showing their team colors: blue, red, green, and yellow. Laughter filled the air as kids talked about games, challenges, and which team might win. It was the day of the Unity Games, a yearly event where students were mixed into random teams to work together, solve puzzles, and compete in races. The goal was to build teamwork and kindness. But for Emma, today had a bigger purpose. She went to the office early. Miss Sanders greeted her with a warm smile. "Morning, Emma. Ready for the games?" "Yes," Emma said. "And I have a small favor to ask." Miss Sanders raised an eyebrow. "Go on." "I know teams are random," Emma began. "But, can you put Jake Morgan and Lucy Hart on the same team?" "With me." Miss Sanders blinked. "That's an unusual request. I just think it could be important for everyone." Miss Sanders thought for a moment. "All right. I'll make it happen." Emma smiled. "Thank you." After lunch, students gathered outside on the school field. Colored cones marked racetracks. Tables were set up for puzzle stations. Teachers stood ready with clipboards and whistles. Principal Harris stepped onto a small stage with a microphone. "Good afternoon, students," he said. "Today is about unity, kindness, and teamwork. Let's remember to lift each other up. Good luck to all teams." The students clapped and cheered. Emma found Lucy by the shade of a tree. She was wearing a yellow wristband matching Emma's. "Guess what?" Emma said. Lucy raised an eyebrow. "You got your way, didn't you?" Emma grinned. "We're on the same team. And so is Jake." Lucy looked nervous. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" Emma nodded. "You trust me." Lucy sighed. "I'm starting to." Team Yellow gathered at Station 1. Cup Stack Challenge. Lucy gave instructions while the others stacked plastic cups into a pyramid. They won the round. At Station 2. Trivia Race, Emma answered science questions while Lucy did math. Jake and another boy just watched. Max and Connor were on a different team, far across the field. Jake looked bored. "This is lame." Emma didn't reply. Lucy muttered, "He hasn't changed." Emma whispered back, "Wait for it." Then came the final event, the wheelchair relay. Each team had to choose one rider and one person to push. The track was bumpy, with small ramps and cones to go around. Emma raised her hand. "Lucy will ride." Jake laughed out loud. "No way." Emma turned to him. "And you're going to push her?" "What? Well, that's crazy." Emma crossed her arms. "Rules are rules. Has to be two teammates. I can't push her. I'm doing the last leg." "You're up." Jake scowled. "Forget it." Lucy looked away, face red. Emma stepped closer. "Are you scared you'll lose?" Jake's face hardened. "Fine. Whatever." Lucy rolled to the start line slowly. Jake stood behind her, hands on the handles like he was holding trash. Emma knelt beside Lucy. "You okay?" Lucy took a deep breath. "Let's do it." Principal Harris blew the whistle. The race began. Other teams pushed their partners fast. Wheels turned, kids shouted. Jake started slow, then began running. "Faster!" someone shouted. But Lucy wobbled. "Slow down," she yelled. "You're tilting me." Jake didn't know what he was doing. The chair bounced over a bump. Lucy gripped the armrests tight. "Stop," she said. "You're going to flip me again." Jake froze. He looked down. Lucy's eyes were wide with fear, but also with strength. "I'm not a toy," she said firmly. "You have to push steady, not fast. You listen or we fall." For the first time, Jake looked truly unsure. He nodded. "Okay. Tell me how." "Hold tighter. Even. Don't lean. Focus on my balance." Jake followed her directions. They turned a corner, passed a cone, then picked up speed but smooth this time. They neared the finish line. Emma was waiting for the handoff. Jake gave one final push. Lucy rolled forward, grinning now. Emma took off running. She sprinted the last leg and crossed the line. First place. The field went quiet for a second. Then applause. Not soft or polite. Loud. Proud. Real. Even teachers clapped. Some students stood. Emma turned and lifted Lucy's hand into the air. Jake stood behind them, breathing hard, his face red. Lucy turned in her chair. She looked at Jake. "Not bad," she said. Jake opened his mouth, but said nothing. Emma put a hand on Lucy's shoulder. "Told you. He'd see." That night, Lucy opened her notebook again. She wrote, "Today, the boy who knocked me down helped me up. Not because he had to. Because he chose to." After the race ended, Team Yellow stood at the edge of the field, catching their breath. Emma bent over, hands on her knees. Lucy sat calmly in her wheelchair, her cheeks flushed with excitement. Jake stood behind them, still silent, his hands resting loosely at his sides. For the first time in a long while, Lucy felt powerful. Other students came over to congratulate them. A few clapped Lucy on the back. One boy even said, "That was awesome." Another added, "You were so steady in the chair." Lucy smiled. Not out of pride but out of relief. She was no longer invisible. Jake didn't speak. He stared at his hands, the same hands that once pushed Lucy over. Now they had helped her win. Something inside him felt strange, like shame, but also something softer. Emma noticed him looking down. "You okay?" she asked. Jake looked up. "I didn't know it was that hard." Emma nodded. "You never had to know. That's the problem." He didn't argue. Later that afternoon, the Unity Games ended. Principal Harris handed out ribbons and small trophies. When he gave the gold medal to Team Yellow, he paused for a moment. "I want to say something," he said into the mic. "We talk a lot about teamwork here. But today I saw real teamwork. Not just winning, but learning, helping, listening." He turned toward Lucy. "Thank you for showing us how strong, quiet courage can be." The students clapped again. Lucy's eyes filled with tears, but happy ones this time. After school, Emma and Lucy sat together under the big oak tree near the back gate. They shared a juice box and watched kids rush to their buses. Lucy leaned back in her chair. "Do you think he really changed?" Emma shrugged. "I don't know. But I saw something in his eyes. Like he finally saw you." Lucy looked up at the clouds. "It felt good. Winning, I mean. Not because we beat them, but because I didn't feel weak." Emma smiled. "You never were." They sat in peaceful silence for a while. The next day at school, something strange happened. As Lucy wheeled down the hallway, students moved aside. Not to avoid her but to make space. A girl she didn't know opened a door for her. A boy she'd never talked to said, "Morning, Lucy." She blinked. "Morning." In class, the teacher asked a question. Lucy raised her hand. Nobody laughed. The teacher smiled and said, "Go ahead, Lucy." Her answer was correct. Emma winked from across the room. At lunch, Lucy rolled into the cafeteria expecting the usual, eating alone. But this time, Emma waved her over to a full table. "Sit here," she said. "Reserved seat." Lucy rolled forward and noticed something taped to the edge of the table. Paper sign. Written in colorful marker. "Reserved for Lucy and friends." Lucy's mouth dropped open. "Who did this?" Emma smirked. "No idea." They both laughed. Jake walked past their table. For a moment Lucy froze. Would he smirk? Would he ignore her? But he didn't. He stopped, then said, "Hey." Lucy blinked. "Hi." Jake scratched the back of his neck. "You were good in that race." "Steady." Lucy nodded. "You didn't drop me. So thanks." He gave a short laugh. "I almost did. Twice." They both chuckled. Then Jake said, "I'm sorry, for before." Lucy's face softened. "You can't erase it. But you can do better from now on." Jake nodded. "Yeah, I want to." Before he walked away, he added, "If you ever need help with your chair, I'm pretty good with tools." Lucy smiled. "Maybe." That evening, Emma and Lucy stayed after school to help clean up the sports field. Miss Sanders walked by and handed them both a flyer. It was for a new program called The Circle. Safe space to talk. Share. To listen. "We want students to lead it," Miss Sanders said. "Would you two be interested?" Emma looked at Lucy. Lucy looked at Emma. Then they both nodded. That night, Lucy wrote again in her notebook. "Today I saw change. Not in the world, but in one person. And maybe that's how it starts." She closed her eyes and smiled. At the same time in his room, Jake sat on his bed. He stared at the floor, thinking about everything that had happened. Then he stood up, went to his desk, pulled out a wrench, and began fixing the squeaky wheels of his younger brother's old toy scooter. He smiled just a little. Maybe fixing things was a good place to start. The morning after the Unity Games, Lucy sat by the window in her classroom, watching the breeze move the trees outside. She held her pencil, but her notebook remained blank. Her mind was too full. So much had changed in just one day. Students were smiling at her, saying hello. Teachers looked at her differently too. Not with pity, but with respect. Felt strange. Good but strange. Emma leaned over from her seat nearby. "You okay?" Lucy nodded slowly. "Just thinking." Emma gave her a soft smile. "Good. Because I have a big idea." Lucy blinked. "Bigger than wheelchair relays." Emma pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I want to speak at the next school assembly." Lucy's eyes widened. "You what?" "I want to talk about what happened. About bullying. About silence. About you." No, Lucy whispered. "I can't stand on a stage. I'll freeze." "You won't be alone," Emma said. "We'll stand together. I'll talk first. You just say a few words." Lucy's hands shook. Emma reached over and squeezed one gently. "You don't have to be loud to be strong. Just honest." Lucy took a breath. "Okay. I'll try." After lunch, Emma marched straight to the front office. She waited for the secretary to finish typing, then said, "Can I meet with Principal Harris?" A few minutes later, she sat across from the principal in his book-filled office. He looked at her curiously. "What's on your mind, Emma?" "I want to speak at the next assembly." "So does Lucy." He tilted his head. "That's unusual. What's the reason?" Emma sat taller. Everyone saw Lucy get pushed out of her chair. Some laughed. Some turned away. But no one helped except me. That's not okay. And it's not just about Lucy. It happens to others too. Kids get bullied every day. Some in chairs. Some with quiet voices. Some just because they're different. Principal Harris nodded slowly. "Go on." "I don't want Lucy to just be remembered as the girl who fell," Emma said. "I want them to hear her. See her." He folded his hands. "You've thought this through." "I have. This school can be better." He smiled. "All right. You'll get 10 minutes at Friday's assembly." "Thank you," Emma said, heart pounding. That evening, Emma and Lucy met in the library. They sat by a corner window, a blank sheet of paper between them. "Let's write it together," Emma said. Lucy hesitated, then wrote the first words in big, shaky letters. "My name is Lucy, and I use a wheelchair." Emma smiled. "That's a great start." They wrote side by side, line by line. Emma's words were fierce. Lucy's words were quiet but strong. When they were done, Lucy leaned back. What if they laugh? Then we speak louder, Emma said. Until they hear us. Friday came too fast. The gym was packed with students, teachers, and staff. The school band played a cheerful tune. Kids chatted and whispered as they sat on the hard benches. Principal Harris stepped up to the mic. Before we begin, we have 2 students who would like to share something important. Please welcome Emma Collins and Lucy Hart. The gym grew quiet. Emma walked out first. Lucy followed, wheeling herself slowly but proudly. Her elbow was still bruised, but she held her head high. Emma took the mic. Hi, I'm Emma. Most of you know me. But today I want you to hear about someone else. Lucy. She looked out over the crowd. Last week, Lucy was pushed to the ground. Not by accident. By a classmate. In front of many of you. Some laughed. Some said nothing. Only a few helped. Lucy looked down. Emma continued. She didn't fall because of her chair. She fell because someone decided it was okay to hurt her. And the rest of us let it happen. The room was still. Emma passed the mic to Lucy. Hands trembling, Lucy took it. My name is Lucy, she said, voice soft but clear. And I've been in this chair since I was little. But the thing that hurts most isn't rolling downstairs or getting stuck on a bump. It's when people pretend I'm not there. She looked up. I don't want to be treated special. I just want to be seen. A few kids wiped their eyes. Teachers nodded. Emma took the mic again. We all have a choice. To speak up or stay silent. To laugh or lend a hand. Let's choose better. For Lucy. For all of us. The crowd was silent for a long moment. Then someone stood. Then another. And then the whole gym rose in applause. It wasn't loud at first. But it grew. Real. Strong. Emma smiled. Lucy wiped a tear from her cheek and smiled too. After the assembly, Jake walked up to them. He looked at Lucy. That took guts. Lucy raised an eyebrow. More than tipping a chair. Jake nodded. Way more. Emma crossed her arms. So what now? Jake took a deep breath. I want to do better. Starting now. Lucy said quietly. Then speak up next time. Not just for me. For others too. Jake held out his hand. Emma hesitated. Then shook it. So did Lucy. That weekend, Principal Harris sent an email to all parents and students. Fairgrove would be starting a new monthly meeting called The Circle. A space where students could talk openly about bullying, kindness, and how to make the school feel safe for everyone. Emma and Lucy were listed as the first student leaders. Lucy showed the email to her parents. Her dad smiled. You didn't just roll forward. You moved the whole school with you. Lucy smiled proudly. That night she opened her notebook again. Today I didn't just speak. I was heard. Word about the assembly spread fast. By lunchtime that same day, everyone at Fairgrove Middle School was talking. Did you hear what Lucy said? She was so brave. Emma really called us out. Even Jake looked like he wanted to cry. Some students felt proud. Others felt ashamed. A few were quiet, thinking about times they had looked away or laughed when someone was being hurt. Emma and Lucy sat at their usual table, now full of friendly faces. Students brought cookies, juice boxes, and smiles. One girl placed a flower beside Lucy's tray. For being amazing, she whispered before walking off. Lucy blushed. What is happening? Emma chuckled. Change. That's what's happening. After school, Ms. Sanders invited them to her office. I've never seen anything like that, she said. You didn't just speak. You woke the whole school up. Emma nodded. But it's just the start. Ms. Sanders smiled. Well, Principal Harris wants to make sure this isn't just a moment. It's a movement. We're putting you two in charge of the first circle meeting. Lucy's eyes widened. In charge? Yes, Ms. Sanders said. You get to pick the topic and lead the discussion. Emma grinned. We're in. The first circle meeting happened the next Thursday. The school library was turned into a calm, quiet space. Chairs sat in a big circle. On each chair was a note card that read, "Your story matters." More than 30 students showed up. Some were shy. Some looked nervous. Others sat with arms crossed, unsure. Emma opened the meeting. "This is a space to talk. No laughing. No judging. Just listening." Lucy added, "You don't have to speak if you don't want to. But we hope you do." A girl named Rachel raised her hand first. She was in 7th grade and wore big round glasses. "I have a stutter," she said slowly. "People make fun of me. So I stopped talking much. But today I want to say, thank you. You made me feel brave." Another boy stood. "I'm short. Everyone jokes about it. But it's not funny. It hurts." Then a student said, "I'm new here. I don't know anyone. But today I don't feel alone." By the end of the hour, every seat had been filled, and almost every student had spoken. Jake came too. He sat near the back. He didn't talk, but he listened. And sometimes that's the first step. After the meeting, Emma and Lucy walked home together. Lucy's hands were a little shaky. "You okay?" Emma asked. Lucy smiled. "Yeah. I'm proud." Emma nodded. "You should be." They passed a wall on the side of the school. It was big, blank, and faded from old paint. "We should do something with that wall," Emma said. "Something that lasts." Lucy tilted her head. "Like a mural." Emma's eyes lit up. "Yes, a mural." They went to Principal Harris the next day. "A mural?" he asked, raising his eyebrows. Emma nodded. "A big one. With a message. Picture of hope. Of strength." Lucy added, "Of students who don't give up." Principal Harris smiled. "Draw a plan. If I like it, I'll approve it." That weekend they got to work. Emma sketched. Lucy colored. They added stars, wheels, hands, and footprints. At the center were 2 girls, one standing, one sitting in a wheelchair, side by side, facing forward. Above them they wrote, "Respect doesn't ask permission." They gave the drawing to Principal Harris on Monday. He said just 2 words. "Paint it." Over the next 2 weeks, students helped paint the wall. Some brought brushes. Others brought snacks. Even teachers helped fill in colors. Jake came one afternoon and painted the stars. Emma gave him a brush and said nothing. He stayed until sunset. When the mural was finished, the whole school gathered to see it. No speeches. No plaques. Just silence. And then clapping. Even students who rarely showed emotion cheered. One teacher whispered, "I've never been prouder of this school." Later that night, Emma called Lucy. "I think we started something," she said. Lucy replied, "I think we are something." The next morning, new posters appeared in the hallway. They had the mural on them, with one line, "This spring, Fairgrove changed." And it was true. Teachers added kindness points to class charts. Students made room at lunch tables. The school bus drivers learned every student's name. Even Max and Connor started acting differently. They didn't become saints, but they stopped making jokes that hurt others. Jake kept quiet most days. But when a younger kid got bullied near the lockers, Jake stepped in. "Not cool," he said firmly. "Leave him alone." The bully backed off. The kid ran. Jake sighed. Then looked at his own reflection in the trophy case. Maybe that's who he wanted to be now. That night, Lucy sat by her bedroom window and opened her notebook one more time. Sometimes the loudest change comes from the quietest voices. She closed the book and smiled. She no longer felt invisible. She felt powerful. She felt seen. The mural on the school wall changed more than just the color of bricks. It changed hearts. Every day, students passed by the image of the 2 girls, one standing tall, one sitting in a wheelchair. Some touched the wall gently. Others paused just to look. But more than anything, they started treating each other differently. It was small things at first. A 6th grader helped a boy carry books up the stairs. A group of older girls waved at a shy student sitting alone. A kid who once giggled at Lucy now offered to hold the door for her. "Morning, Lucy," he said. She blinked. "Morning." The simple greeting meant more than he could ever know. In class, teachers started doing kindness circles every Friday. Students took turns giving compliments or thanking someone who made their day better. "I want to thank Emma for being brave," one girl said. "I want to thank Lucy for making me feel seen," said another. Even the class clown, usually loud and silly, stood up once and said, "I'm sorry for the times I laughed when someone got hurt. I'm learning." Lucy clapped softly. Emma smiled. One lunch hour, Emma noticed something new on the announcement board. A flyer read, "Talent show auditions. All voices welcome. Poems, speeches, jokes, dances." Emma nudged Lucy. "We should enter." Lucy's eyes widened. "Us. On stage again." Emma nodded. "Together. Let's write something." Lucy hesitated. "What would we even say?" Emma smiled. "The truth." That weekend, they met at Emma's house and sat on her bedroom floor. With markers, snacks, and music in the background, they began writing a spoken-word poem. They wanted it to be powerful but simple. Real. Emma wrote, "They told me quiet girls don't start revolutions. But I've seen thunder roll in on wheels." Lucy added, "They saw a girl in a chair. But I am the period at the end of your assumptions." They laughed, rewrote and practiced. Lucy's voice trembled at first. But with Emma beside her, she kept going. The night of the talent show arrived. The gym was filled with lights, parents, teachers, and rows of students buzzing with excitement. Acts came and went. A boy did magic tricks, a girl danced ballet, someone sang a love song. Then the announcer said, "Next up, Emma and Lucy performing Unseen, Unheard, Unbroken." The crowd hushed. Emma walked out first. Lucy followed, wheeling herself slowly and confidently. Emma took the mic. They said, "Be quiet. Don't shake the room. Don't roll too loud. Don't speak too soon." Lucy continued, "But silence isn't peace. And ignoring isn't kind. We don't need legs to cross the finish line." They took turns line after line. "I'm not your pity story. I'm the girl who rose. You didn't see me then. But now you know." The room was completely silent. Then came the applause. Started slow. Then it grew. And grew. Parents clapped. Students stood. Some had tears in their eyes. Even Mr. Green, the tough gym teacher, wiped his eyes with his sleeve. From the crowd, Jake sat with his little brother, who pointed at the stage and whispered, "She's so cool." Jake nodded. "Yeah, she is." After the show, people lined up to thank them. "You made me cry," one mom said. "My daughter's in a wheelchair," another whispered. "And she needed this." Lucy held Emma's hand tightly. "I didn't freeze," Lucy whispered. Emma smiled. "You flew." The next day, something new appeared in the library. A book display with a big sign. "Unseen no more. Stories that matter." Books about bravery, kindness, standing up. Lucy and Emma's poem was printed and placed right in the middle, under a clear glass case. Students stopped to read it. Some cried quietly. Others just smiled. Later that week, Jake found Emma near the lockers. "Hey," he said. Emma turned, surprised. "Hi." Jake shifted on his feet. "That poem. It hit me. I used to be so blind." Emma stayed quiet. Jake looked down. "I want to be better. Not just feel sorry but actually help." "Is that weird?" Emma shook her head. "Not weird. Just right." Jake nodded. "If you ever need help, like setting up chairs or carrying supplies for the circle, I'm here." Emma smiled. "Thanks, Jake. We might take you up on that." One day, Miss Sanders told Lucy that the school was getting calls from other schools, asking about the circle, the mural, the poem. "Fairgrove is inspiring others," she said. Lucy's jaw dropped. "Really? Really?" Miss Sanders smiled. "You lit the match." That night, Lucy wrote in her notebook again. "Kindness spreads like ripples in a pond. And even the smallest voice can start a wave." She drew a little ripple beside the words, And for the first time, she didn't feel small at all. She felt like a leader. The gym still echoed with the memory of their poem. Even days later, students stopped Lucy and Emma in the halls. "Your words made me feel seen," one girl whispered. "My big sister uses a wheelchair. I showed her your poem," a boy said proudly. "My dad cried," another kid admitted. "He said you were brave." Lucy wasn't used to this much attention. She wasn't used to being anyone's hero. She rolled beside Emma after lunch and said softly, "I don't feel like I'm hiding anymore." Emma grinned. "You were never hiding. The world just wasn't looking." A week later, Principal Harris called them into his office. He handed them both a special envelope. "You two have been chosen to speak at the Brighton Youth Empowerment Conference," he said. "They want you to perform your poem and talk about your journey." Lucy stared at the envelope. Emma gasped. "That's huge. They want strong student voices," Principal Harris said. "And I told them you were our best." Lucy looked worried. "But we've only performed at school." Principal Harris leaned forward. "If your voices shook Fairgrove, imagine what they'll do in a room full of schools." Emma placed a hand on Lucy's shoulder. "We got this." The day of the conference came quickly. It was held in a large city building with glass walls and hundreds of chairs. There were students from over 20 schools, along with teachers, parents, and youth leaders. Emma wore a navy blue dress. Lucy wore a deep purple sweater with jeans and fresh sneakers. Her wheelchair had bright yellow wheels now, a small touch of joy. Backstage, Lucy's hands trembled slightly. Emma noticed. "Want to hold mine?" Lucy nodded. They held hands until their names were called. "Next up," the host said, "Emma Collins and Lucy Hart from Fairgrove Middle School. Performing Unseen, Unheard, Unbroken." They rolled onto the stage together. The lights were bright. The room was huge. But the two girls stood strong, one in her sneakers, one in her chair. Emma began. "They told me to be small. Sit quiet. Stay still. But I am louder than silence." Lucy followed. "They told me I'd always need help. But I helped them see. Helped them feel. Helped them listen. Together. We are not your story of sadness. We are the proof that rising doesn't always start with legs. Sometimes it starts with courage. You may not see our battle, but we fight daily. To be heard. To be valued. To be more than the boxes you put us in." And then the final line said together. "We were unseen. We were unheard. But we are unbroken." The room stood still. Then came the wave of clapping. Fast, loud, full of tears and love. Teachers hugged. Students stood and shouted, "Yes!" One boy in a wheelchair raised both hands in the air and screamed, "That's me! That's me!" Lucy's eyes filled with tears. Emma laughed and cried at the same time. They had done it. Afterwards, students came up to them for pictures, hugs, and to share their own stories. A girl said, "I haven't talked in class for a year. But after today, I think I will." A boy said, "I got bullied too. But you made me feel like I could be strong again." One teacher said, "That was more powerful than any training I've ever had." Lucy sat quietly and listened. Every word was like a healing balm to the parts of her that once hurt so badly. Later that night, back home, Lucy sat on her bed with her journal in her lap. She wrote, "Today I didn't just speak. Changed people. My voice was once a whisper. Now it's a spark. And sparks can light 1,000 candles." She drew a tiny candle next to the words, with flames reaching higher and higher. At school the next week, something incredible happened. A student who had been silent for most of the year wrote a poem and asked to share it during morning announcements. A teacher created a project called Who We Really Are, where students shared stories about what made them feel invisible and what made them strong. In the art room, someone painted a picture of a tree with wheels as roots. Beneath it were the words, "Grow where you're planted. Roll where you're pushed." Fairgrove had become a school where being different was no longer something to fear, but something to celebrate. Emma and Lucy continued leading the circle every month. More students came. More stories were shared. One boy who once sat at the back and said nothing stood up and said, "You made it okay for me to stop pretending." "Thank you." Jake came too. And this time he spoke. He stood, hands in his pockets, and said, "I used to be the problem. I hurt people and thought it was funny. But I've been listening. I'm learning. I'm sorry." Emma nodded. Lucy said, "That takes courage too." Jake smiled just a little. But it was real. The ripples kept growing. Other schools invited Lucy and Emma to speak. Parents emailed thank you notes. A writer for the local newspaper came and interviewed them. And though all the attention was nice, Lucy didn't care about fame. She only cared about the little girl who might be watching. The one who thought no one saw her. The one who needed a voice to show her she had one too. One evening, Lucy and Emma sat under the old oak tree near the back gate, the same place where everything began. They looked up at the stars. "You ever think," Lucy whispered, "how all this started with one bad morning?" Emma smiled. "No. It started with one good choice." Spring melted into summer at Fairgrove Middle School. The flowers in the courtyard bloomed bright yellow. The mural stayed fresh and bold on the school wall, a daily reminder of strength. But even as the days grew warmer, Lucy felt something else: change. Her family had made a decision. "We've found a high school with better support programs," her dad said one night at dinner. "It's called Riverdale High. It's not far, and it has better accessibility for students in wheelchairs." Lucy looked down at her plate. "Oh, I won't be going to Fairgrove next year." "No, sweetheart," her mom said gently. "You've outgrown it." Lucy stayed quiet. She understood. She really did. But that didn't mean she was ready to say goodbye. The next morning, she wheeled into school with a heavy heart. Emma spotted her immediately. "What's wrong?" she asked. Lucy handed her a note. It read, "I'm transferring to Riverdale High this fall." "I didn't know how to tell you." Emma looked up, eyes wide. "What?" Lucy bit her lip. "It's a good school. They have elevators, ramps everywhere, and a speech and writing club." Emma sat beside her. "So, you're leaving?" Lucy nodded. "But not really." Emma blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means I'm not leaving you," Lucy said softly. "We've come too far." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "You better call me every Sunday." "Every Sunday," Lucy promised. They bumped fists and sat together in silence. On the last day of school, Principal Harris made a special announcement. "Before we begin our end-of-year awards, I'd like to recognize two students who taught us something more valuable than any textbook: Lucy Hart and Emma Collins." The whole school cheered. Emma helped Lucy roll to the stage. Principal Harris handed them a plaque that read, "Voices of Change, for turning silence into strength." Lucy held it close. She didn't need awards. But this one meant something real. Later that afternoon, Emma walked Lucy to the parking lot. Jake waited near the gate, holding a small toolbox. "Hey," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "I fixed the squeak on that loose wheel." Lucy smiled. "Thanks, Jake." He looked serious. "Riverdale's lucky to have you." Lucy replied, "You too. You've changed." Jake looked down. "Still trying." Emma gave him a nod. "Keep going." He nodded back. That summer, Lucy traveled with her family to her grandfather's hometown, Selby, a quiet village with wide streets and birds that sang every morning. Her grandfather, Mr. Walter, was once a teacher and a civil rights marcher. He sat with her on the porch one afternoon. "You've done more at 13 than I did at 30, he said with a proud chuckle. Lucy smiled. "I didn't mean to. It just happened." "That's how courage works," he replied. "It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just rolls forward." Lucy looked out at the road. Quiet. Strong. She understood. Back at Fairgrove, Emma stepped into 8th grade alone, but not really. Her backpack had Lucy's favorite keychain hanging from the zipper. A tiny gold star. She wore it like armor. Miss Sanders met her in the hallway one day. "We're starting a student diversity council," she said. "I want you to co-lead it." Emma blinked. "Me? You were the voice that started it all," Miss Sanders said. "Now it's time to build more." Emma agreed. Her first goal: make sure no student ever felt invisible again. Every Sunday afternoon, Lucy and Emma talked on video chat. They shared poems, ideas, jokes, and updates from their schools. Lucy told Emma about her new friends, and how Riverdale had voice-controlled door openers. Emma told Lucy about how the circle now had over 40 regular students, and even 2 teachers who joined to listen. "Fairgrove's different now," Emma said one day. "You changed it." Lucy grinned. "We changed it." As the new school year moved forward, both schools added ramps, more awareness posters, and classroom conversations about kindness. At Fairgrove, the mural remained untouched. Fresh, loved. New 6th graders would ask, "Who are those girls?" And someone would always say, "That's Lucy and Emma. They changed everything." One day, Lucy's teacher at Riverdale said they were going to perform a school-wide spoken word piece. The teacher handed Lucy the mic. "Would you like to lead it?" she asked. Lucy took the mic and smiled. Yes. And for the first time in her new school, she wasn't afraid. That night, Lucy wrote in her journal, "New school. New voices. Same promise. To never let silence replace truth." She closed the notebook. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't just feel strong. She felt ready. It had been months since the Unity Games. The mural on the school wall stood tall and bright. Though seasons changed, no one ever painted over it. Not a single student dared. Because it wasn't just paint on bricks. It was a promise. A promise that Fairgrove Middle School had kept since that spring. In the cafeteria, the "Reserved for Lucy and Friends" sign still sat on the table, though Lucy no longer attended the school. New students sat there now. Students who once ate alone. They laughed, shared snacks, and felt like they belonged. Emma often walked past the table and smiled. It was still working. The ripple hadn't stopped. At Riverdale High, Lucy wheeled through the hall with her head held high. She had joined the spoken word club, helped install wider desks, and every Friday, she shared a message over the school intercom. Kindness doesn't cost a thing, but silence costs everything. Some students clapped, others thought. A few wiped away tears. Lucy had become a voice, not just for herself, but for every student who felt unseen. One Friday at Fairgrove, Emma led another meeting of the circle. Jake sat beside her, now a regular. A boy shared, "My brother laughs when I stutter. But I came here today because I don't want to hide anymore." Emma nodded gently. "You don't have to." Then she looked at Jake. Jake stood slowly and said, "I used to be the kind of person who made others want to hide. But I've learned. I'm still learning." The group clapped softly. That weekend, Emma received a brown envelope at her doorstep. Inside was a letter from Lucy. It read, "Dear Emma, I miss you every day. You taught me that one voice can change a room. Now I believe that one room can change a whole school. And maybe one school can change a town. I'll never forget the day you stood up for me when everyone else looked away. I didn't fall because of my chair. I fell because someone chose to make me feel small. But you reminded me that I could rise. That I was never small to begin with. Thank you for making space, for standing tall beside me. With all my heart, Lucy." Emma read the letter twice, then placed it in her journal, right next to the poem they had written together. At the next school assembly, Principal Harris made one final announcement before summer break. He pointed to the back of the gym, where a new banner had been hung. It read, "Respect doesn't ask permission." Underneath were 2 silhouettes, one standing, one seated in a wheelchair. There were no names, no credits, just truth. And beside the banner was a box. Inside the box were hundreds of slips of paper, each written by a student, each sharing something they had learned that year. Emma pulled one out and read aloud. "I used to laugh when people fell. Now I help them up." The students clapped. Principal Harris nodded. That's the kind of learning that will change the world. Over the summer, Fairgrove and Riverdale became models for other schools. Educators from different cities came to see the circle, the mural, and the program started by two brave girls. A writer published a short article in a children's magazine titled, "The Girl Who Rolled Forward, and the Girl Who Walked with Her." It ended with the line, "Some friendships don't just lift each other, they lift everyone around them." One day, a younger student at Fairgrove asked Emma, "What really happened that spring?" Emma thought for a moment. She smiled, then replied, "That's when we learned what real strength looks like." In Selby, Lucy sat beside her grandfather under a wide tree. The sun warmed her cheeks. Birds sang softly above. He placed a hand on hers and said, "Your voice traveled farther than your wheels ever could." Lucy looked up at the sky and whispered, "But they carried me to the start." On the last page of her notebook, Lucy wrote, "Real strength is not in standing tall. It's in helping others rise. And in never being afraid to be seen." She signed it, closed the book, and rolled forward into the world she had helped change.